The rowers in the boat steer the very first part of the course, but there's the women's pair, Sarah.
Yes, we can see the women's pair. Of course, two athletes, one oar each. The world best time in this event, 6:50.61, set by the British women who we will see in this race today. So I wonder how close they will come to that time. As we said, not overly fast conditions, but they certainly will be helpful. So in lane 1 we have New Zealand, in lane 2 Romania, lane 3 New Zealand 1, in lane 4 the Olympic champions Great Britain, in lane 5 Germany, and in lane 6 Denmark.
Thanks, Sarah. So here's the second New Zealand pair. That's Olivia Lowe, furthest away from you, closest to you Holly Greenslade. The spare New Zealand pair, strong last quarter. Romanians very fast off. That's Madalena Beres and Laura Prayer. Here are the top New Zealand pair, Genevieve Berent close, furthest away from you, and Rebecca Scowen closest to you. They're also competing here in the women's 8, and a lot of work for them to do in this regatta. Coached by Dave Thompson. Next to them, the camera hasn't quite focused on the Olympic champions from Britain, the strong favourites. There is Heather standing closest to you, 31-year-old. Behind her, Helen Glover. Fantastic pace off that crew, very flexible, any part of the course. Here's the German crew. I think they're improving. They got a bronze medal in the Europeans, beat Denmark in the rep. Hartmann and Marchand. Catherine Marchand closest to you, Kirsten Hartmann furthest away. Denmark, we haven't yet seen them, but the crews are off and it's a pretty smooth start.
Yeah, all crews out of the block fairly smoothly there. It looks like the British just to an early advantage. I imagine over this field that they'll be looking to get their nose out in front. Of course, we saw an epic battle with the USA at the Lucerne Regatta. The USA not appearing at this regatta with any crews, so the British, I think, would be fairly confident about their chances, but they do have the Kiwis just off to their right-hand side, who will be their strongest contenders, I would imagine. But a great start there from the Danes closest to us.
Yeah, great start by the crew from Denmark, coached by Mads Rasmussen. Put Hedvig Rasmussen and Anne Anderson together. They were scullers and basically came into this boat, and they're really ones to watch for the future. 22 and 23-year-olds. So I don't think they're going to live with the pace of the British. You can see in with the number 4 in the centre of your pictures, Denmark in the white boat closest to us. Just ahead of them, it's Germany with the number 5 on their bows, and you can see the fastest moving boat on that graphic on the bottom right of the screen. Really helpful to watch the race, that, Sarah, but the British moving out now.
And interestingly, the New Zealand 2 pair over in lane 1, Olivia Lowe and Holly Greenslade, they're the reserves for the women's 8 and the women's pair. They had a great start coming out at 44 strokes per minute, but just starting to suffer now as New Zealand 1, Genevieve Berent and Rebecca Scowen start to move through into a more dominant position. But there we see the German pair, Kirsten Hartmann, who's been rowing the pair for many years, and Catherine Marchand, currently sitting in about 4th position.
So Britain through the 500 metre mark in first place, Denmark in second, Romania third. The time of 1:41.2 is just a second off world record pace. I don't think that they'll go fast enough to get that world record, but it's a quick time to 500, Sarah.
And Martin, we can see the British pair out in front here. They've been so dominant for the last almost 8 years, well really 5 years since they really started to feature at the 2011 World Championships in Slovenia. But what do you think it is that makes them so good? What is it that they do that makes them dominant in this field?
Well, there are 2 points to the boat where you could slow down, where you put your blades in and where you take them out, and they're just fantastic at both of them. Really, if you look at the blades going in, Sarah, there's no real check on the boat. By that we mean look at the stern of the boat. It really runs very true. Where they put the blades in and they've got a beautiful release, just easy. They're not really trying to add too much on the finish, just let the boat go. So they're doing nothing to slow it down. They're not the most powerful athletes in the squad either, not the biggest ergo scores, but they know each other so well, they communicate so well, and they're beautiful oarswomen.
And I really like what they do around the back end. They complete the stroke. There's so many pairs, even if you look at some of the other pairs they're racing now, who don't complete the stroke. They don't pull all the way to the bodies. But you look at that draw height and the way that they're able to keep their blades in and really push it away from the finish. They're making the most of what they've got. I think it's very impressive the way that they're able to control the blade and, like you say, take care of it at both turns, at both ends of the stroke.
So we're coming up to 1,000 metres. 3:23 was the pace for the world record. This is a very quick time. It's only a second outside of that, Sarah. New Zealand one moved into second. The Romanians now in third place, overtaken Denmark. And this is a great race between the British and the Dave Thompson coached Kiwi crew. Dave Thompson works with that women's pair and the women's eight. Robin Williams, of course, coaches these two women from Great Britain, and the Kiwis do have a very handy middle thousand in their back pocket.
Yeah, Genevieve Brent and Rebecca Scown, as you mentioned, doubling up in the eight, so they've had quite a few races over the last couple of days already, but certainly it's not looking like that fatigue is slowing them down. I think this is probably the most press that we've seen the British in any of the recent races, so I think the Kiwis are doing an excellent job, and we know how good the New Zealanders are in the final quarter across the team. It's something about their training that they do that makes them so tough, and I really think these British girls don't want to come down to a sprint, so they're going to be looking to do some more work in this third quarter.
Folks, this is a great race. The Kiwis are still in contact. They're very strong in this part of the race, and only just over a second's lead, if that, for the British pair. This is the best pairs race we've seen all season. We had thought the British pair were nailed on favourites for gold medal, but they are being given the race of their lives by these two women from the New Zealand eight. And the camera's concentrating, I guess, rightly on the fastest moving boat, the British, who may be slightly edging out. And you see there Heather standing in the stroke seat. Helen Glover looking across, checking where she is.
Yeah, it's not often in a women's pair race that you see coming through the third quarter that two crews are rowing at 37 strokes a minute. Both crews are really going for it here. We know that everything is on the line coming into Rio. For so many of these events, it is a head game, particularly in the small boats. Whatever the result is here could dictate what will happen at the Olympic Games. So pride is on the line and everyone's looking to get that edge.
So Britain through the 1500 in 5:09. That's 3 seconds outside world record pace. They still haven't broken the Kiwis. This could be a major upset because the Kiwis are getting ever closer. I fancy the Kiwis for this last 500 metres, Sarah. They are having a fantastic race and we could have a major upset. This is the closest anyone has ever been to the British pair. Britain in the lead, in the white boat, just ahead of them, the Kiwis with lane 3, just above them. The British have just pushed back and responded, Sarah.
Yeah, we saw the Kiwis just start to make some ground back, getting up to about 3/4 of a boat length, but the British have responded. But now here come the Kiwis again. We've talked about the Kiwi sprint, 250 metres to go. There's a tail breeze. It's set up for them to be able to do that. Here they come. They're up to almost 2/3 of a boat length on the British. This is the closest we've seen any crew to the British in the last 4 years.
40 seconds to go and the British will be absolutely scared out of their wits. That's the British pair. These two women focused. Look at the pain on the face of Helen Glover as she fights off the Kiwis. The coaches on the bank following on the cycles will be so exciting. These two pairs are miles ahead of third place Romania, and it's a fantastic race coming towards the finish.
And it looks like maybe the Kiwis are just out of gas as the British, they start to open back up now to almost half a length.
So Britain very relieved, crossing the line in a quick time of 6:52, just outside the world record. New Zealand in second place, Romania take third. That's the Danes crossing the line now in fourth place, Germany fifth, and New Zealand's second pair cross the line in sixth place. But what an amazing race that was. We'll get confirmation of that time for you, but my sense is that with the world record at 6:50.6, that was an extremely fast time. So, could that mean that Great Britain are not nailed on favourites anymore for the gold medal, Sarah?
Yeah, look, I think that the British would actually be really happy to have had that race here, the last one before the Olympics, really pushed all the way to the line. They haven't had that, and we've been waiting to see them, I think, stretched you always wonder with these top crews that are so dominant for so long, if they're pushed, do they have the response? Do they have the ability to match that? And we've just seen from the British women, yes, they do. They can answer that call. So it'll be interesting come Rio, but I think that the British women will be very, very confident going into these Olympic Games that they could do the Olympic gold medal double. But I certainly would not discount that Kiwi pair or the American pair come the Rio Olympic Games.
So confirmation, I think we're getting of that time, 6:52.79, just outside of the world's best time. Certainly I think that's probably a World Cup record, the fastest time we've seen in a World Cup. We'll get confirmation of that for you. That record held by Glover and Standing in Baresi last year. So one of the things we do here is we let you know just how fast these times are. Relative to the world's best time, that is a time in percentage terms of 99.64% relative to the world's best time. There we are, 6:52.79. I think that's the fastest time ever in a World Cup. Berent and Scan, an amazing